No, Greg. She has not confirmed. She has not confirmed. There's been no confirmation. What is up, Greg? Give me a quick second. I'm running behind. But I wanted to get this stream started. What's up, everybody? What is up? Thank you, anybody that is watching on the replay. Definitely appreciate you for checking this out. You know, I've been just trying to get my thoughts out on this. Von Eric, appreciate brother Von Eric, asked me to cover Sister Kamala. They called her the Silk Press Sister. Asked me to check out some stuff about her, so I did. But you know, I do everything a little differently. I definitely do everything a little differently. Nope. No confirmation. No confirmation. We have no confirmation. I am looking for visual confirmation. And I need to check for myself, Greg. That's what I need. I need hands-on confirmation that she's a woman. I don't want any birth certificates. I need to check for myself. Absolutely. I think that's only fair. Kameleon. Yeah, what's up, Dory, man? Good to see you, Greg. Good to see you, Dory. Good to see you, fellas. Greg, I am waiting to hear back from Rico about our talk. If she is, she lost my phone. Hey, listen. If I find out, you'll be the first I'll let know. Yeah, that'll work. So, man, what's good, Dory? What's good, man? What's good? So again, shout out to Sim 2 for his support, man. Appreciate the dono. And then shout out to Von Eric for requesting the topic about Kamala Harris. And again, I do everything a little different because I know people, right? Because I know people. I know that we're not swayed by facts. We don't believe anything we see in here anyway. We all believe what we believe, and we're not really moving. So what I'm doing, like I did yesterday, is kind of presenting my thoughts. What caught my eye? What was important to me, or what I've been hearing that kind of tweaked me. So that's what I did with the fellas yesterday, Vance and Trump. Today, it's going to be Harris. Now, I'm not going to worry about Walls. He was just elected recently within the last week. And I don't know too much about him, but everything I've heard has been solid. I did look up, like the last few years of the state of Minnesota, what their, deficit surplus has been looking like. Things have been looking good economically. So, I did, a little cursory glance. And y'all's in the building. Appreciate you. But we are going to talk about quite a few of the topics that have been surrounding Kamala, our dear sister Kamala Harris. Starting with that very thing, because people have been really bothered by the fact that people are calling her by her first name, which I thought was so weird because on everything. Let me pull this up. Everywhere I look, every time I see her, I see this behind her. Kamala. On her bus, Kamala. And I'm like, well, why are they telling everybody to stop calling her Kamala if that's on everything? So let me pull this video in real quick, because they talked about it here.
Time wasters. They're people who are good at what it is that they do. I saw the president, one of the presidents or co-chairs or whatever, on an interview on television earlier, and his comportment was so dismissive of the of Kamala Harris, including referring to her as Kamala. Now, I don't know if they're longtime friends, but given the tenor under which he spoke,
it don't matter.
Of which he spoke, I have to assume probably not. Maybe they've never spoken. Maybe they are not friends. Maybe they don't know each other like that.
Undershirt. We talked about that as well.
And therefore, it might make sense. It might make sense to respectfully refer to her as vice president.
No clue.
Either way, we have to be better, do better.
Yeah.
And to the extent that these organizations just become replicas of their majorities, institutions, then it is of little use.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. And to the extent that you then rise up to level the systems that have kept you oppressed, Then we can talk.
You don't stand in front of you're talking about the vice president of the United States, and you're giving a press conference to reporters. You're speaking to reporters, and he was calling her Kamala like they just got on the phone yesterday. I thought it was disrespectful, but I
thought it was disrespectful, and I'm like, is it though? Like, is it disrespectful? Is it like, because everything I've seen, she probably said, "Call me Kamala" when he was donating to her campaign. I've seen her do that. She was having a thing where she was cooking with Mindy Kaling, and she was trying to give her, like the what they call it in Japanese, the honorifics, and she's like, "No, call me Kamala." It just, she's not on all that, which is okay. I'll let you know. I really don't want to know if the horse rumors are true for him. I really don't want to know if the couch rumors are true for JD. I don't want to know. But all her materials have Kamala. So I thought it was, and those aren't the only people I've heard saying. I've seen people going crazy about this whole first name thing, but I'm like, it's on all of her campaign materials. So I don't think everybody should have to call her by, Mrs. Harris, Vice President Harris. I don't know. It just feels weird to me that they're putting it on campaign materials, but nobody's allowed to call her by her first name. So people are really leaning into a very protective nature with her, which is interesting. And I didn't know if that was like a woman dynamic, like you can't attack the woman. But it's been interesting to see. Hillary was generally called by her first name as opposed to Mrs. Clinton. Yeah. And certain people just have names, I think, that lend themselves to calling them by their first names. Certain people do. Because Harris is such a generic name. And then I know Hillary, because of Clinton, because her husband was actually a well-known politician, something to differentiate between her and him. I know the misses, but I don't know. You just want something to differentiate. Kamala's very distinctive. Nobody's going to call Barack. Nobody's going to go around saying Barack. It does not come up. It does not flow from the tongue well. It sounds like a sound, kind of like the Hawk Tua. Barack sounds like that. Barack, like you're coughing. So I don't think anybody would have. So Obama it just flows better. It flows so much better than Barack. But that was the first thing I had to get off my chest because that's been annoying me. But people have been talking about her realness. Now let me pull this up real quick. And again, same rules apply. I have no idea how my internet's going to hold up, how the videos are going to play. So you got to bear with me. My internet's been struggling this week. Was struggling again the other day. So if the videos play fine, let me know. If they don't, let me know. We might have to do, because my little service that I was using to clip videos is still not up and running. Let me see, 39 seconds to 2:15. All right, so this was, a lot of people have been talking about how inauthentic Kamala is. So these ladies, and again, this first lady in the white, she was one of the people that was talking about calling her by her first name too. The Taraji Kamala, that was terrible. She's been doing a lot of, I don't know, I don't even know what to call it. Because people want to call it play acting, people want to call it cosplay, people want to call it like she's pretending to be black. I do think she's black culture adjacent, or like she's been invested in black culture. So it doesn't feel authentic, and people have been calling her on her authenticity on both sides. They want her to be more connected and real, but I think she's stuck in a professional. And I can understand. I'll go into that in a minute. Like I do think gender dynamics play a large role into a lot of the things she does, and the receipt, how people receive her.
But I mean, I think she's a complicated person, right? I think, one of the things that doesn't get talked about, at least in my opinion, enough, is that, politics in California is basically people run for office on TV because we have such a spread out state. Los Angeles is nothing but sprawl. And to get people's attention, particularly in a market where not everybody speaks English and a lot of people don't, you need TV advertising. And so in some ways, Kamala Harris I look at her, particularly once she became Attorney General running for a statewide office, and then the Senate, she is a product of California politics. So if she seems standoffish, it's because she's been doing a lot of running for office throughout her career. on TV and not doing a lot of retail, stuff. And I do think that her flaws as a candidate, and I say this as somebody who did cover a bit when I was in Sacramento, showed up on the presidential campaign trail, and she has to kind of be more real with people, let not just have, this is my image and I'm not going to crack it. You have to let people in. And I don't know, I've, watched her, throughout her time as vice president. Of course, she's a Black woman. She's going to get, grief that is not deserved and get extra scrutiny. And a lot of it is not fair. But I do think she does have the challenge as a candidate of not coming across as really, really authentic. And as somebody who has talked to her one-on-one, it's not that she can't do that. She just doesn't. And I don't know why that is, but the person that you talk to one-on-one with her is not necessarily the person you see on TV. And I think until she can kind of meld those two things, I think it's going to be hard for her to elevate to the point of being a presidential candidate. But anything can happen in the next 2 years. So I could totally that.
Now, of course, this was before. This was while she was running the first time and, getting put out of the primary. But I thought it was interesting because that's kind of how I feel. Now, Greg is right. I don't think any politician is real, but there's a personality. Most people lend themselves an authentic version of their personality. Like if they have a hot temperament, they're a hot-tempered politician. If they're, very conciliatory, they're very, agreeable. They put that forward. That's what I mean by authentic. They allow you access to a fraction of their personality to kind of know what kind of disposition and temperament the person has. Like Trump, whereas he is right out there. That's what a whole bunch of people love with Trump. No matter how much he lies, what's authentic is his personality. You kind of know what type of person he is. No matter if you believe him or not, whether you trust him or not, whether you like him or not, you can kind of see how he's tempered. He moves in a very specific way and he doesn't hide it. So that's one thing. Somebody like Kamala, however, is a little different. She has a facade, which again, most politicians do have a facade, a public-facing personality, but hers is very bland and she doesn't really give you any personality quirks or dynamics other than like the silly, goofy, laughy thing. Which, if that's what she wants to put forward, okay. But it's hard for a lot of people to take that seriously. What can be unburdened by what has been. Yes, there's a level of acting required when you're a top politician. When cameras are rolling, Obama did it well. Yeah, and for a lot of people, I would say in the Democratic Party, people that support Democrats mostly, there's a lot of virtue signaling. That's a part of the performance that politicians on the left have to do. A lot of kind of virtue. I care about people, even if they don't. They have to kind of pretend to care about people. A lot of it has to be in certain areas, got to be a little bit more folksy. J.D. Vance put that on. J.D. Vance put the whole folksy thing on, grew the beard, started wearing flannel. So it's a thing that a lot of people do. I think there's a little bit of that is necessary to be relatable, to communicate well, because people kind of want to know who you are. And you're never going to know who the person is, internally. But you kind of want to get a sense of who they're, the person you're dealing with. I still think Trump is a character he is playing. Judging from people talking about how he acts behind the scenes, maybe. Because every time I hear about people talking about him behind the scenes, they say he's like this. They say he's funny. They say he's likable. They say he just likes, but he's also can flip on people. Everybody I've heard talk about it. Like if you're not supporting him or liking him, then he doesn't deal with them. Like I've seen that so many times. But I watched a lot of material about Kamala Harris. Watched a lot of it. And I agree with what the lady said about her being inauthentic, her facade not cracking. I do think I've seen her in Senate proceedings when she was in the Senate. I've seen her in Senate proceedings where she came across a lot more dynamic. She had a lot more assertiveness, aggressiveness. There was a lot more bite to her. There was a little something more you could like grab onto, like, okay, I think that might be her when she was grilling people in the Senate. So I do think she should bring out more of that. I do think people might do the whole, well, she's a woman, so it's not assertive, it's bitchy. I think they might pull that on her, but I think more of that, like that temperament would look good on her as far as a leader. But I don't know how it would be received. That's what I wanted to say. I do think gender has something to do with how she's received. I think it's a lot to do with how she's received and how she's criticized. Because I think a lot of her facade she's come up in a lot of avenues, like a attorney general, prosecutor. She was senator, and now vice president. She's in a lot of arenas that are dominated by men. So I think a lot of her facade is to not crack under that pressure. I think a lot of that is, some of that is just her feeling like that's how she needed to cope to advance and survive. But again, that's all speculation. Like we talked about yesterday, rumors, reports, and reality. A lot of the stuff we have will never be reality. We'll just have to kind of live with the rumors and the reports that we have. Oi, what's up, Nova? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Let me see. Let me get to the 440 because they talked about her. Oh, it was 440, 520. But I think she suffers from the same thing that JD Vance suffers from. And I'm going to let the guy that they wanted to run with her say it. He's saying it about JD Vance, but I feel like the same thing is true about Kamala.
Donald Trump, well, he's now got a partner with him. Y'all see that guy? Yeah.
I'm not verifying the couch
Vance,
or the horse.
He's not exactly off to a good start. I think we can all agree on it. But I think part of the reason why he's not off to a good start is this, and it's serious. He doesn't know who he is. And he's not being honest with himself, so he can't be honest with the American people. He can't.
Did he? JD Vance verified the couch? Man, please say that's not true. I won't look into it. I'm not verifying that. I refuse. Oh my God. They're very similar. I think they'll both do what's necessary to get what they want. I think they'll both become who they need to become to get what they want. I just think they both have the ability to take a different path. Because of race and gender constructs, I think JD has more room to evolve and change. But I think there's a narrow window for Kamala Harris that she has to navigate as she wants to ascend. But I do think in certain pathways in the Democratic Party, her race and gender actually helped her. I think that actually helped her on the Democratic side. He wrote it himself in his own book. Jesus Christ. One will be VP, one will be P. You're right. Yeah, Kamala will be P. Yeah, I do think they're similar. I do think they're similar. But I will say Trump is not significantly better. Yeah, I agree with you. It's hard for me to take Trump seriously for the reasons that we talked about yesterday. Now, what I would say is Kamala is the kind of politician I'm used to. So between Trump and Kamala, it would be so much easier for me to vote for Kamala because I can see her just being an inaccessible politician. I wouldn't want her as leader. I wouldn't want her as president, but she's somebody I could vote for. I just don't see it happen. Don't see it happen. For some of the things we'll talk about today. There's one in specific. Just briefly on her relationships. I know it's been covered about her relationships with Willie. I think it was Willie Brown. I don't know why. I like the name Willie so much. I didn't write down his last name in any of my notes. But a lot of people have. I think I wanted to touch on that. Pause. I don't want to touch on that. I wanted to speak about the Willie relationship because a lot of people talk about her getting on her knees to advance, like to she stepped her way to the top. If the Willie guy gave her a leg up, an entry point, this is all pause worthy. I get it. If Willie Brown, let me find a better way to say this so I can quit laughing at myself. If Willie Brown, forget this. Okay, there's no way to not make it sus. If Willie Brown got her in her first position, a lot of people in America get their first starts based on who they know. So I don't put that as a damning thing to her credibility to get her start in her career. If she did get there because of her relationship with Willie Brown, it's not what you know, it's who you know. We all say that quite a bit. If she got the prosecutor spot because of Willie, so be it. It's not my business. if he helped her campaign for AG, because I heard that he put forth some money and, you know, donated money, considerable money for her campaign to run for Attorney General. Also not my business. She's also been senator and vice president. So at some point, her accomplishments, her ascent has to be attributed to her at some point. It can't all be sleeping with this guy that she knew way back when. So I can't ding her completely, pause, for what she did with Willie. I can't. Vance's reason I won't vote Trump. He has already survived an assassination attempt. His VP matters a lot. Yeah, a lot more. How's her credibility when entities like Google are blatantly influencing search results? Now that's problematic too. I've seen that. Yellow was doing an experiment on the search results and stuff too. That's crazy. But everything is biased. Like rumors, reports, and reality. Everything is biased. I'm biased. We were talking about a conversation yesterday on the stream, and I'm like, I'm biased towards like labor. I have a certain bias. I have a certain thought process that, you know, capitalism bad. So like there's some automatic defaults that a lot of us rely on. And the more those defaults you have, the worse. And unfortunately, our technology carries the biases of the people that program it. They get to influence things. It's crazy. Well, good point, Nova. I'm not biased towards labor. I'm biased towards the philosophy of the Labor Party, I guess. Like there's probably a way to say it. I'm biased towards the people, human capital, and what their needs are. But yeah, that search result stuff, that's crazy. Headboard Harris. I like that one. Got the Spurs put to her. He is a huge player in California politics. And he's married. And I'm morally ambiguous. I don't even care that he's married. That's between them. I somebody wants to cheat. That's their business. That's not going to be the thing. I know so many people. I know so many people that can be good at their job but be like morally just deficient. Like it's a really weird thing. Like people could just be cheating on their wives. They could be stealing, but their job they're really passionate about and they'll do it well. So I kind of separate those two. Their outside morals and their inside morals. I kind of separate those two. It may not be the best thing to do, but I've had to learn to do that because otherwise I wouldn't be able to support or trust anybody. Because we all have a spot. Like Greg's basement, I don't ever want to see it. I can have conversations with Greg because I don't look into his basement. I can have conversations with Nova because I don't look at his search history. Like it's really important to have that little bit of distance so everybody can have their little dark corner that I don't go to. That way I can still know you. Her VP nomination was DEI. Now, we're going to talk about that too. Because I would say Kamala's VP nomination is not DEI. It's a term I'm coming up with called DAI. DAI. So Tim Walz is a DAI hire. The thing I love about it poll. Old white man promises to pick a woman. Woman turns around and picks old white man. Circle of life. Yes. Yeah, because you got to balance the scales. You need DAI and DEI. He's a dirty commie is the right way to say it. Uncle Lars, yes. I like democratic socialism. We are going to get to that. We're going to get to DAI. It's nothing major. It's nothing super cool. But I want to wait until I get there. You know, say my little tidbits. I think the only reason it matters is because she is entirely depending on women voting for her. Home wrecker could hold. It could. If the women get in their fifis about her being a home wrecker. But what might serve her, Greg, is if you look at the data on women self-reporting about cheating, she might be okay with them. They might not be so, as time passes on, she might not be so knocked down by women because she was a homewrecker. Because a lot of them seem to, like married men. It's a strange thing. I don't know, but I'm curious. Von Eric in the building, man. Appreciate you, Von Eric. Again, he did request me to cover a little bit of Kamala. So we were just talking right now, Von Eric, about some of her relationships and how myself, I know a lot of people have knocked her about her relationship with Willie Brown, and that's not something I do. She's had several powerful positions. If he got her a foot in the door, again, it's not something that I'm going to ding her on. If you got her in the door, helped her ascend to AG, I'm not really going to do. I mean, because she's been a senator and she's been a VP. She seems competent in some capacity to handle some of those more high profile jobs. She's able to keep. She's able to keep. I've seen other senators, and it might be because of a sliding scale. I'm from the state that has Jim Jordan and JD Vance in their legislative branch. So when I see Kamala interviewing people in the Senate, it's actually like a leg up. So I might be biased because of what I'm used to locally. So she's a step up from what I'm used to locally. I don't even really like our governor. He looks like a little weasel. So she's a step up. So she may not be qualified, highly qualified as what she's trying to do. But to me, she's better than what I'm used to. So again, take what I say about me, thinking she's qualified because she's been a senator. Take that knowing that who I'm used to. JD Vance, Jim Jordan. Complete and utter idiots. Complete simpletons. And people also are dinging her for her husband. Now, I also think a person can marry who they want to marry. Love who you love. I'm okay with that. But when it comes to the race, when it comes to the racial aspect, because they like to kind of paint her as pro-blackish, which is kind of weird for me. For her to spend her life, because she grew up with a mother who was in Oakland not politics, but activism, Oakland activism. Her Indian mother was heavily invested in Oakland, like black activism, which is it's his own thing. She grew up in the house listening to Aretha Franklin, and so whatever. That's cool. That she married a Jewish man, after going to Howard, where she would have met a lot of black men. It's interesting. Her sister married a black man. So it's interesting that she ended up with a Jewish man, but they got set up on a blind date. That's how they met. He was interested. She was interested. Okay, cool. I'm not really tripping about who she loves because she's never really come out as pro-black. No matter how much she talked about being in black-centric spaces, going to Howard, she's never said I'm pro-black. Because my only thing is about being pro-black is when you have a family, how you family plan, because that's kind of political. I would like to know that you invested in the thing that you say that you're pro, but she's never said she's pro-black. So I don't ding her for that. She does brand herself socially justice, but not pro-black. So that came from her mother and her maternal grandfather. They both have those very deep roots in social advocacy and justice. So we're looking into them. Yeah, it might not matter. Women never make up their minds. True. No bigger clowns in the House Republicans, period. Yeah, my reps. And I'm so used to hearing about them and seeing what they do. And when I heard Jim Jordan interviewing people and asking questions, well, they don't say interviewing. When they're like, it's not interrogating. What do they call it? When they have them in front, like before they bring somebody before the Senate committee. They bring people before the committees, start asking them questions. But Jim Jordan asked the dumbest questions. What's up, Yella? What's going on? She dated Montel Williams? Okay, that's cool. I just saw him on a show talking about her. Interesting. Congressional hearing. I just saw Montel Williams out of nowhere because I hadn't seen Montel Williams in some years, other than those commercials he's on. And he was talking about the run for presidency and stuff like that. So I wonder if they brought him on because they had dated at one point. That's interesting. I only saw a clip, so I don't know if they talked about it. And as far relationships, I know she's a stepmother. I don't think that dings her being a childless cat lady. I know that wasn't about her specifically, but it was. JD has clarified and said he's just talking about there's a mentality. I talked about that a little bit yesterday about the feminist rhetoric, the feminist ideology. I don't think she's that person. So I don't think like even the childless cat lady really lands on her. She is a stepmother. She seems to be family oriented. So I don't think that lands. So as far as her relationships, I don't think any of those things should actually ding her. Judge Joe Brown has been going in. Yeah. Some people really just can't stand her. And I don't think all of the reasons are actually her. I think some of the reasons are people around her or people that she's been associated with or even like the race thing. Like we're getting ready to talk about her race, not her presidential race, but her like ethnic. What do you call it? What is a phenotypical race? As a like IG would say, her phenotypical race. Some people are really bothered by how she can navigate being multiracial. Some people that really offends deeply. I don't get as deeply offended by her being multiracial. My biggest thing is that y'all know I played that video so many. I think I played it multiple times. It feels like it's just burned in my head. But I'm not gonna say I'm gonna do anything specifically for Black people. That part that is sticking with me. Let me pull up this video though. We are going to get into her race. I'm gonna play a short segment about VP Kamala Harris. Sorry, there's something weird going on. There is either a giant cricket. Can y'all hear that cricket? Oh man, I think it's loud. My bad. My bad. So we are going to get into this. Let me share this tab. You can hear the cricket too, and it doesn't. But it sounds weird. It doesn't sound like a normal one. It's must be mating season. That's a weird sounding cricket. Yeah, it doesn't. It sounds weird. It doesn't sound like a cricket. It sounds like that's a weird one. I don't know. That's us. I thought my headphones were like going out. I kept hearing this like grinding sound. I'm like, Okay, so we are getting ready to play this clip about Kamala Harris. It's about 2 minutes.
Her name went viral and became a hashtag for anyone claiming a race or culture they were not born into. Rachel Dolezal says she was living her life as an active member of the Black community. Many within her community saw Rachel as a respected civil rights activist. She was president of the local NAACP chapter and an instructor of Africana Studies at Eastern Washington University with a bachelor's in arts and a master's in fine art from Howard University. Then, in 2015, this childhood photo of a blonde-haired white Rachel was a piece of her unraveling. When it was revealed, she had constructed a life around Black culture. Rachel was fired from her job, forced off community boards. So
My bad. That was the wrong video. Wrong video. Wrong video. Wrong person. It sounds like Brie. I can't wait to tell her. You said she sounded like a gangly cricket. My bad. Listen. Here we go though. Here's the right one.
Vice President Kamala Harris not being Black, which was, I think, to a room full of Black journalists, was sort of off-putting, but also like confusing as well, when she has always presented herself as Black. But it was very interesting. The crowd was very responsive.
yes,
I thought it was funny because people keep telling me that she's always presented herself as Black. Okay, cool. I can accept that. I've also seen, and I think we've all seen, the videos where she presents herself as South Indian, of Indian heritage, first Indian American VP. We've seen all of those things. By now, I would like to think a lot of us have seen that. What makes her different to me than Rachel Dolezal is the half Jamaican father. Like, and when I'm talking about Jamaican, they keep calling her African American. She's not African American, but she is partially Black. African American is an ethnicity. That's not there. Her ethnicity would be Jamaican American and Indian American. But her race, the Blackness, comes from her grandfather. And I'm going to show you some pictures in a minute. And it took a little bit because at first I thought I was tripping. I thought I was going crazy. Let me pull these pictures up. Let's see. Let me pull these pictures up because I had to see them for myself. Because the first person kind of, I would say, was playing. I was watching a video and they were kind of playing in my face. I don't like being manipulated. There's a lot of manipulation going around. I don't like it. The guy did a whole video talking about her family tree. If you look, an error occurred. Wait a minute. There it is. Bam. If you look at this little family tree, and these are her parents at the very bottom. Those are her parents at the bottom. The Indian and her Indian grandparents, then her father, Mr. Harris. Then you see those two brown icons. Now, when I saw those two brown icons, I'm like, okay, that kind of light skin, because this is her father. Hold on, where are you at? Boom. I thought I pulled that in. So this is her mother and father. That's her mother and father when they were young. So when I was looking at this family tree and I saw those two brown icons, I'm like, wait a minute. I've seen them. And he's not that brown. But, you know, they just might have just grabbed some brown faces. Okay. So his parents, as light as he was, this man right here could not have had two really brown skinned parents. It just wouldn't happen. It's possible. I just don't believe it in myself. But I wanted to see because for two of those, you got Oscar, I believe it is, and Beryl. And then you see up there, you got Chrissy and Iris Finnegan. There were some Irish names, but they had black faces. So this is the grandfather, the one that has the brown icon. This is him. So he's like, which would make more sense? Would make a lot more sense with him looking like this and the grandmother this brown. Then coming out and having this man makes a lot more sense. But that's where the black comes from. There's the black race coming from the grandma. Makes sense. But I had to find that because everybody kept saying she was black, but I couldn't find the black people. I had to find them, but it was a couple generations back. This man on the right side and that woman on the left side, they created her father. So, you know, he's biracial. And I'm cool with that. I'm absolutely cool with that. So if they want to say black, fine. Cool. We have a lot of biracial black people. Not a problem. African American, no, it's different. African American is something totally different. She's not. And I wish they would quit playing that little game. There's a lot of manipulation around that. A lot of people want to go with the African American thing, but she's just not. And that's okay. She doesn't have to be. You don't have to be African American to be president and vice president. You don't have to be a specific race. That's not what's going to qualify you. Let me see. I will say though, she has been around a lot of black culture, like black American culture, African American culture. Again, when she was in Oakland, her mother was an activist in a lot of black engaged activism in Oakland. She went to school, HBCU, so she was around a lot of black Americans. So culturally, maybe she does feel African American, or at least splits time there. Again, that's not my biggest thing. He looks like an alternative time like OJ who never played football. I can see that. And Trump came at her at the NABJ as well. And I know some of y'all saw that, but let me play this quick clip. Let me see. Where we at? Boom. 5:31. Because this is where it struck me a little bit. I'm like, I know she's been, and other people too. I found a lot of actual Indian websites, a lot of Indian reports talking about her. And they're, of course, from the Indian side, they're all proud of her from her mother's side, her maternal side. There's a lot of that Indian heritage that she embraces. So let me play this real quick.
A while to speak publicly about her mother's Indian heritage. As the Washington Post pointed out in 2019, many of Harris's close friends didn't initially realize the senator was of Indian descent. The executive editor of India Abroad explained, "It's only been in the last year or so that she's really come out and embraced this part of her heritage." One activist for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders also commented on how Harris began to really embrace her Indian roots in 2018 and 2019, saying, "I'm so glad she has discovered her Indianness. It's sudden, but I absolutely love that it's happening. It's not something she has exhibited over the years." Harris met fellow lawyer.
Now, I thought that was interesting because now I know Trump said she became black, but these people are saying she became Indian. So that goes back into my whole thing about she'll be whoever she needs to be. She'll hide everything that she is until it's convenient. She becomes Indian when it's convenient. She'll lean into the African American when it's convenient. I just think that's a thing. I think that's very political. I think that's very normal for what these people do. Again, JD and his beard and flannels, it's not unlike that, but she's just doing it racially. But I do think they're being a lot disingenuous by trying to conflate her race and ethnicity. She's not African American, and that's okay. She doesn't need to be. She doesn't need to be. Trump is really missing out on calling her Tika Kamala. She grew up on roti and curry goat. Yes, she is very familiar with South Indian dishes. But again, it's South Indian, which seems to be like the black people of India because they're all darker. Again, just a thing I noticed. Just a thing I noticed. But why does that matter? Why does her race matter? And I have this video that I want to say that speaks to that, which I believe is also from another Indian woman. Race, why does it matter? Other than the fact that they keep putting it in our face. Let me see. Share this tab. I thought this lady said something nice. Yeah, she fell out of a coconut tree.
Or run by Indians. Personally, I am fascinated with the role that race plays in politics, and don't just write it off as identity politics. Every single politician is looking at the statistics. They are looking at how people are voting based on their race, their gender, how much money they make, what they do for work, where they live, whether or not they're married. They look at all this information because it's valuable and it's fascinating. It is so interesting to see how people like you and people unlike you are thinking and voting. We as humans are hardwired to see patterns everywhere we look. And yes, I know there will be some outliers. Not everybody thinks the same. I don't speak for all Indians, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Okay. If you don't care about the role that identity plays in politics, fine, whatever. That's fair. But you cannot deny that identity and politics are deeply intertwined. Anyways, where was I? Racism.
And I thought that was an interesting point because I feel the same way. Like we don't have to ascribe to it. We don't have to care. But it's obviously important to the country. It's on all the forms. Any important application, the census wants to know. Everybody wants to know who and what everybody is. So it has to be in some way important, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. You already wrote it off as IDPO. What is IDPO? Tell me what that is. It's your second time you use that word. What is that? What's that word mean? What that word mean? So, especially coming from Black people, it's weird when I keep hearing the Black press, when I keep identity politics. Okay. When I keep hearing Black members of the journalistic tribe, when I keep hearing them say her race does not matter, it strikes me very oddly because so many Black people, not just like African Americans, but people of the Black race, if you have, that Afrocentric ethnic, IG keep calling it the phenotypical. If we have the phenotypes, the phenotypes, he keeps saying, but so many of us voted for then President Obama, simply because he was another brown-skinned person, simply because he was Black. Some people have only voted in their lifetime. I think Yella, or it might have been Bree. One of them said they only voted when it was Obama. If there are people only voting when the president has brown skin, then race matters. It has to matter because that's the what's that? I can't think of the word all of a sudden, but that's the way people are making their choice. If some people are making a choice simply by race, then race has to matter. Identity politicking. So now at this point in juncture, I wouldn't do the same thing that I did for Obama. It was us. I wouldn't vote for Obama or Kamala or anybody else simply because they were Black. Not at this point in my life. I just wouldn't do it. I've learned more about the role the politicians have and race to ever want to do that again. But it's got to be valid to verify her Blackness if so many people are putting that as a thing that they're voting for. The same way if someone is voting on a single issue, to check the person's record on that single issue. So we have single issue race voters. It's okay to check our race. So I know they're trying to shame people for doing that, but they shouldn't. Now we found her black ancestry. We found it. We saw the photo. It's there. I don't know how much of it you got to qualify. I'm not a one dropper. I saw the grandmother. I'm cool. She's black. She's not African American. She's of the black race. She has that phenotype, and we saw it. Descendant of slaves, Jamaican slaves, but slaves nonetheless. I did get busted, didn't I? No, you saw that. Hey, Anae. What's up, Anae? How you doing? Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. I'm going to pull up this next video real quick. Let me see. Blah, blah, blah. Yakety schmackety. Let's see. Share this tab. Boop. And this is more Karen Hunter. I like Karen Hunter. I don't agree with her a lot. And the more this election is going, the less I agree with Karen Hunter. She's super vote blue no matter who. I don't like that. Not a fan. Let me play this.
What has been the biggest struggle
Yes,
right now?
True.
From the moment that you
Irish
decided
slave
that
owners.
you were going to step into this arena to now, what has been the biggest hurdle for you?
You know, I think it is, just to be candid with you, because I'm, almost 10 months in, so it's just, I'm all about real talk.
Real talk.
I think one of the biggest challenges is a challenge I faced my entire career, which is in every office I ran for, nobody like me had done it before. And so as a Black woman running for president of the United States and a serious candidate for president of the United States, I think the challenge is to have people, as I've heard before, believe in what can be, even if they've not seen it before.
Mm.
And, this is a conversation I've heard in every election I have won. But it is about, asking people to imagine what can be, unburdened by what has been. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge when we know that so many people are so overwhelmed and, really exhausted by the Trump administration. It is about also, the challenge of saying, hey, everybody, we cannot be passive on this, and we don't need to sit back and wait for somebody's permission to tell us what's possible. We can make what's possible actual, but we have to be, activated.
Yeah.
And march with our feet and pray with our feet
Mm.
for what we know we can do.
I remember,
So I'm just being very candid with you. That is probably the biggest challenge.
and I remember when President Barack Obama was running, and I remember there were a large faction of Black people before Iowa who were questioning his Blackness. And because I was fighting on the other side of that, like, are we doing this really? Well, his mother's white, he was raised by white people, and there was all of this, and you get some of that as well. But I think it's added to, because your mom's Indian and your dad is from Jamaica, and they're like, is she really Black? And now you have this added faction of there's some men who won't vote for you, and they're questioning whether or not you're really down for Black people. I don't know what that feels like to have to battle that when you've been Black your whole life. And we know, it doesn't matter, when you look like you look, you're Black. I don't know what that feels like to have to fight something that I know you probably never imagined you would have to.
No, you hit it on the head, Karen. You're right. I mean, look, I was born Black. I will die Black. And, my mother raised her Black children with pride. And, my entire career has been also understanding, though, that we're asking people to believe in something that might be, people don't want to face the disappointment or don't want to believe in something and work at it and then feel that they might be exposed to disappointment. From the first time,
I wouldn't look too far on that. I just want to stop after her Indian mother raised her Black children with pride. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting thing that she had said there. Shout out to Valiant Thor. Appreciate you stopping through. Kamala only talks in noise. That's cool and all, but can you give me a single policy, though? Just one? Other than the no tax tips thing? She's not going to pin herself down on policy. She said several things that she plans on addressing, but she's not going to pin herself down to a policy yet. While she's still raising money, while she's still getting all the volunteers, you're not going to hear her pin herself down to an actual articulated point. She says she's going to address health care, especially for women, She's going to address housing. She's going to address the economy. She's going to address the border. She says she's going to address a lot of things. So if you want a well-articulated plan, it probably won't be before the convention. And even then, I don't trust her. I don't trust her to come up with an articulated plan that doesn't sound like it was copied and pasted from the Biden administration. I really don't think it'll be much different. And now, true, I got to ask you though, Greg, I'm shocked that so many people are trying to pin her down on the policy, knowing she just came from under Biden. 9 times out of 10, it's just going to be a copy paste from Biden. Now, I would think that people knew that, but that everybody's asking her for an articulated plan and thinking it's going to be much different than Biden's, with the maybe more emphasis on the women's reproductive access. That feels like a stretch, but maybe y'all know something I don't. Maybe y'all think she's actually going to be a further departure than I do, because I don't think she's going to be heavily left. I think she's going to be very centrist, but she's going to advance the causes of women's reproductive health, which, you know, overturning the road and all that stuff. I think she's going to fight for that. That's probably going to be her biggest thing and the only thing that she'll actually get done. Yeah, she is goofy. There's a little goofiness there. But she's a black-facing Indian woman in the same way that Nimrata Haley is a white-facing Indian woman. Her mom is from a group of Indians from the southern region of India. They skew darker. She's as black to me as Obama was. But neither of them were Black American. African American, that ethnicity. She probably has more history and contact points with Black culture than I do, with the history and advocacy and activism in the Oakland area, being around activist groups, being around, being in the HBCU. She probably just has more articulatable points of Black culture reference than I do, outside of entertainment. But it depends on what you're looking for. To be clear, her race does not have a single thing to do with qualifications for the role of president. Her ethnicity, to me, is being confused, but that also bears little on her ability. If you don't care about race, but her proximity to Black culture, cool. But I want people to identify the value that they want to vote for. If it's race, that's cool. If it's her ethnicity, if that's cool. If you want to go on qualifications, that's cool. But find it, locate it, identify it, and solidify it. Like, we need to do that. She's going to try to distance herself from Biden's economic record. I want to hear now. You want to hear how? Okay. Haley is a sheik, though. That's a major cultural difference. But again, she's not heavily into. She's leaning onto the Black American culture. So you're talking about the Indian culture. I'm saying she's Indian. She's Indian, has Indian heritage. She's of the Asian race through India. Her mother's. But culturally, she tries to attach herself to Black American culture. So I'm not saying that she is. I'm not sure what you took from what I said. I said that Kamala Harris is black facing, the same way Nimrata Haley is white facing. So again, I'm not even sure what you're trying to clarify here. Anyway, her race ethnicity is relevant to her ability to win, but not to govern. Right. She copied and pasted Trump's no tax on tips. At this rate, next time she speaks, she'll say, "Let's make America great again." At this rate, next time. Okay, Cindy. Yeah. You said, but Haley is white facing. I think most of that is she's just a Sikh. That's just a choice. You can, if that's not who you are, and you face you articulate yourself, you fashion yourself after a certain group of people. That's a choice. That's a choice. And I see what you're probably trying to say, that the culture that their family comes from in India, that's probably predetermined which way they leaned. I'm not trying to determine her family's orientation and who they were trying to cast themselves as. I'm talking about this one individual person. Nimrata is white facing, which is why she went from Nimrata to Nikki, and Kamala is black facing. That's just the fact of how they orient themselves. And I'm not going any deeper than that. Let me see. I would say we should also know. This is important for me. This is the part that's important for me. Because she's not of the Black American ethnicity, and she has made it this far in a country where you are not permitted to legislate on behalf of Black Americans So I think we can safely say that none will ever be elected. I don't see any time in the near future in this climate where you can't legislate on behalf of Black Americans, that ethnicity, that you'd ever be able to select one. That's why I know again that she's not one. But even of mixed ancestry and heritage, I do think because she is multiracial, she should be able to code switch. She should be allowed that latitude. Let me pull up this video real quick. I don't think that makes her phony. I do think she again, when she's around Indian people, she leans into her Indianness. But a lot of us do the same thing. If we're around people who are more street, we kind of lean into that. If we're around people that are more religious, we might clean things up a bit. We all code switch. I think she should be allowed that same latitude. But give me a second. It's got to be the wrong video. Maybe not. Boom.
You know, the way in which we communicate, the way in which we comport ourselves, the way in which we, you know, all of that. How are they going to learn the fullness of humanity if we model the homogeny that they want everyone in, except we know that we will never be accepted because it's rooted to the skin, it's rooted to the body.
Well, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, and it's like, are we code switching? Are we playing the game? Are we behaving like
all of it,
the dominant class? I think, I espouse more of the views that say we just all have lots of different ways of being that we pull from, and we pull it with purpose for specific reasons to deploy, right? This is how I'm going to speak because I feel like it, because I will have a specific audience, because I want to elicit a specific response. Like, if we think about it that way, rather than almost recreating the boundaries that they've given us, because where did those boundaries come from? Who said black and white? Who said English stops here and Spanish starts there? All of the boundaries were essentially constructed to create hierarchy, because it's not in non-Western knowledge systems to have these strict bordered binaries or hierarchies. It's not. And so the fact that we can navigate them, and that for the lack of language in Western colonial tongues to name what we're doing calls it code switching, because they need a binary to language it. If I'm not in that Western knowledge system, I wouldn't call it that.
Right. I love that.
And I wanted to share that because code switching is a thing people do. We do it. We employ it. That's a skill. Greg says he does not have that skill, if he has it, he just does not employ it. I wouldn't say that's the worst thing about you as a person. I would say it's the worst thing about society is that we make everybody carry so many different versions of themselves. Because I think in a weird way, this is just me going off on a tangent. I think a lot of some of the mental health issues is the fact that we make people learn so many different parts. Like if it was somebody on the stage, it's like, okay, you're going to come on stage, but you need to know 50 different lines of script and dialogue and where to stand and how to stand. And it's hard. It's complicated to know so many different ways of being. And the more that you're forced to learn, I think the more complicated life gets. Every Asian country has or has had the caste system in some form. If you're going to talk about history, please read a book. Okay. But for me, as far as Kamala Harris is concerned, I do think not only is she racially black, I would even give her, and this is a joke, I would even give her African American, because I've listened to so many interviews about her and her family and her friends, and nobody ever mentions her father. And they called her mother a single mom. So she's got to be one of us. Got to be one of us. So shout out to Kamala Harris on that. But I do want to introduce a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory time. All right. Let me download these photos. I got a conspiracy theory. Greg, Nova will appreciate this. So, we got the presidential race. In the primaries, we lost a couple soldiers. But I wanted to, let me pull these videos down. Let me pull these photos down. Let's see. One. Oh, give me a second. 2. 3. All right, 3 photos. Let me upload these to StreamYard. Give me a second. By the way, real quick, this is her her maternal grandfather, South Indian, dark skinned man. I like it. This is her maternal family. Her mother in the middle, grandmother, grandfather on the outside. So got it. Nice, colorful family. Nice, beautiful family. All over the spectrum there. But let me pull these photos in real quick because this is my conspiracy theory. Now, I just saw a group called War, Whites Against Replacement. And I remember Charlottesville, Jews will not replace us. I remember those things. It sticks in my head. But I'm worried that maybe if you guys know anybody that's worried about the replacement, white replacement, I think you might want to point them in another direction. I think they might be so focused on like the forest that they missed some trees. Because here's the thing. And I don't have any problem with this, but I could imagine if I were worried about somebody replacing me as a people, which I think a lot of Black people are worried about Latinos replacing them, especially in the voting block. I get the whole fear. I get the whole anxiety. But you've got Kamala Harris, born in Oakland, mother's Indian. You've got Usha Vance, the wife of J.D. Vance. She would be like, was that the second lady? If you're the VP, but if something happens to Trump, he'd be president. You've got Vivek Ramaswamy, and you've got Nimrata Haley. There's a lot of Indians around the presidential seat. There's a lot. J.D. Vance, all his children have the Indian name. Now, if I were one of those people that walked around saying like Jews will not replace us, I don't think you need to worry about the Jews. I mean, Shapiro got close to being a VP pick. I don't think it's the Jewish people you need to worry about. That's my conspiracy theory. I do think if there's an invasion, if there's a takeover, if white people are under threat, I do not, educational wise, financial, like as far as household wealth, Asians are at the top. So if you guys are worried about being replaced, I think you're looking at the wrong people. I think quit focusing on Black people, quit focusing on Jews. You might have another group. Because Kamala, Usha's around there, Nimrata, Vivek. I'm just saying. There's a country. There's a lot of people at the top. Y'all gotta figure that out. It ain't us. If every white person was bred out in a single generation, I wouldn't care, even a little. That's your thing. You're not catching any strays. It's a warning. I think it's like, listen, hey guys, if you're worried about somebody taking over, it might not be us. It might not be the Jews. It might be somebody that has 4 people around the presidency. Maybe. Message. I hate that I know this, but the replacement theory is that Jews in power shipping in brown people. Okay, so they're bringing Indians. Okay, so Jewish people are replacing you with Indians. Okay. Yeah, I don't spend any time on the Chans. Y'all's Chans. 4chan, 8chan, 12chan, 13chan. I would totally be chill if our country was 99.5% populated by fruit vendors from El Salvador. I don't believe you. Not one bit. But that's my little side. It's hard for me to believe that in 2024, we are closer to having 3 Indians and an Indian second lady in the White House than the first Black American or Latino. It's doesn't feel, I don't know, it just feels coordinated. But again, that's my conspiracy theory. So her record, let's talk about Kamala Harris's record for a bit. I have heard so many people ask us to be less critical. We don't ask her. We don't ask Trump to do this. We don't ask Trump to say this. We don't ask. That annoys the mess out of me. I'm gonna play it. Let me get this video. Squared up. Let me see. 1314. Bam. Share this tab. All right, cool. Let me see. Some of them are also thick as heck. You do like them thick. I do think I care if whites were legit on the verge of disappearance, and that's not great, but that's just business. And I'm with that. As a black person, I don't care who you are. I'm pro people. If I thought black people were going extinct, which I have a whole black replacement theory. I don't think white people are the only ones getting replaced. I think black Americans, our ethnicity, is getting replaced as well, but that's a conversation I've had before, and we don't need to have it right now. It wouldn't bother me. Well, people as a concept have only existed for about 500 years. White people, got you. Yeah, most people identify by nationality before, but I mean, it is what it is. But it bothered me how many people were asking me, not me specifically. I've obviously internalized a lot of this. How they've been asking people to not be critical of Kamala because Trump isn't asked to be on point. Trump isn't asked to have answers ready. Trump isn't. I don't want my standard to be what Trump can't or won't do. That can't be my standard for a politician. And I don't understand like Democrats leaning into that. Let's remove all the standards and let's remove all the criticism. Let's not scrutinize it all. We need anybody that can beat Trump. To me, that's brainwashing. I don't like that. Doesn't sit well with me. If whites were 5% of the population, that'd still be a shield. I still need teammates from League of Legends. No more Counter-Strike players, no more racist COD lobbies. That would be weird. No racist COD lobbies, that would be weird. I like hearing about the racist COD lobbies. Vote blue no matter who. I'm not a big fan of that. And I know Republicans are real big on party over policy a lot of times, but the Democrats didn't used to be like that. I voted for a long time, mixed ticket, like there'd be some Republicans, some Democrats. It got I would say around Obama, it got really bad. And now it's like, it's unhinged. People are crazy. But let me bring in this video.
About it on the other side.
I have said before, I used to repeat some of the same things ad nauseum that people are right now. Oh, she blocked up a lot of black men. I lived in this state my whole life. I had an occasion to talk to her on several occasions. I accused her on this radio station, on this network, on the same things that people are doing right now. If you are the people right now who are misquoting her record, we are not the same. If you believe that her locking people up from weed is worse than a man who says he wants to give dope dealers the death penalty, we are not the same. If you want me to remember her past but not Trump's past, we're not the same. If you want to remind me of her record but don't want to talk about Project 2025, have you ever noticed the same black people that want to tell you she sold all this weed and locked all these people up, tell you they don't believe that 2025 is Trump's plan for a second term?
And it's not.
There is a reason for that. If you're telling me you're not going to vote for her because she has a white husband, then we're not the same. Well, she ain't black enough. I tell you what, she's a black woman. She went to Oakland. She's from Oakland. She went to an HBCU. She's an AKA. She had a boyfriend named Willie.
Yes. And now the qualifications for being a black person is having a boyfriend named Willie, being an AKA, or going to an HBCU. Like that's what it takes to be black. You don't have to have any ancestry lineage. These are things that people are, and I've heard multiple people. This is not just D.L. Hughley, who's a comedian. I'm not sure why or how. I guess from Dick Gregory on to now, we have a list of entertainers being our spokespersons in politics. I'm not sure how that happened, but people listen to this clown. And he's listing things that qualify her as being black, and none of it was ancestry or lineage. Now, again, we went on our own and found the ancestry. But I really can't stand when people put that out. But let him finish.
And she got a name, first name that's hard for everybody to pronounce. It sounds different than it's spelled. That's black enough for me. But what I do know for sure,
I respect it. He said black enough for me. Black enough for me. Because, her dad being removed off the rolls, that's about black enough for me.
Sure. Is that she can win if we decide it is so.
I mean, DL's a comedian.
Not that part. He is a comedian. I won't qualify that. I just saw a meme that said Kamala is about to give a speech with a smoke detector beep in the background. Ooh. Does Kamala stroll? Let me see it one time. Yeah, buddy. I like it. Yeah, hey, listen. If she did that, man, Greg did a racism. If she had the smoke detector, boy, I wonder how they would even get her a drained battery to make it beep. But let me pull this up. I do want to share something because there's legitimate, and I don't know if anybody's heard this claim, but there's legitimate things in her policy and her record to ding her on. So you don't have to make stuff up or stretch the truth. But you're going to hear stuff like this. Let me pull this in. This is JD speaking on Kamala Harris' record.
It is a policy choice to not prosecute people who sexually assault minors. When Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California, she actually made it a non-violent crime to commit sex crimes with minors. Shouldn't we want to throw people who commit the most heinous crimes in our communities in prison and throw away the key? And yet Kamala Harris is making it easier for people to get out of jail after they commit heinous crimes with children. It's despicable, but it's a...
Now, I thought that was a big claim. And when I heard that, I'm like, boy, if that's true, that's an automatic no-go. You got to protect the kids. Trick let the kids. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. And I was like, that's a big claim. But I also know JD's an idiot and he's a liar and he's a snake. So I couldn't take it at face value. So I wanted to look at that because this is the biggest, boldest claim I've heard against Kamala. I've never heard anything like that against her. But of course, to everything I could find reported, it's not true. The then governor, Jerry Brown, in California, had pushed through Proposition 47 without the people getting to make comment on it. It was a corrective measure since then, have been voted down by the people because people are weird and they get stupid. But before this, Prop 47 and this Prop 57, Kamala Harris actually remained neutral on. And what it was in the language, let me pull this up. What it was in the language of the bill, there's a listing of things that are classified as violent offenses. For whatever reason, they did not identify specific acts of violence outside of the list that was already codified in some current law. So it did not cover things like some forms of the R word, try to be sensitive to YouTube, whatever. But there are certain things that were in there that they didn't catch when they did the law. But again, a guy was trying to push it, Governor Jerry Brown. I'm not sure if that's a man or a woman. I didn't look that up. But that person was trying to push something through on their way out, something goodwill, trying to reform the system. And people believe in that because, people get sucked into that virtue signaling stuff. Oh, nonviolent offenders. So some things that were violent did not get caught up, not because they weren't violent, because they did not specifically codify and identify which things were violent, which acts of violence got caught up. She loved locking people up. Single moms, potheads. She built a record on being tough on crime. And she's about to do it again. She's putting out ads about being tough on the border. So she gets to lean in. Again, she's all things for all people. So she's going to be the compassionate social justice warrior for the left. And she's going to be the tough on crime top cop for the right. She's going to try to appeal to all people by doing nothing. Because again, when these laws came through that people like this JD Vance is putting on her, which wasn't her at all, she remained neutral on it. She didn't take a stand on it. She put out a letter saying that it should have been clarified. She put out a letter saying to clarify the offenses that should be categorized, but she didn't take a position, yay or nay, on the actual thing. I don't see her supporting Prop 47. It would hurt. Yeah, she didn't support it, and she also didn't go against it. Yeah, Prop 47, Prop 57, she remained neutral. So that's her thing. So I've noticed everything I read about her, she tried to play the neutral. People talked about on the right, they were bothered by, there was a guy that killed a cop out there. I can't remember the guys. I didn't write it. I didn't make notes of all this, but there was a cop that was killed and she did not pursue the death penalty for that offender. That made the right side mad. There were several instances of police brutality and people killed by cop that she did not pursue charges on the cops. That made the left side mad. She has everything I read, everything in her history is her not taking a clear and decisive stance. She likes to play the middle. That way she kind of has cover from either side. She has plausible deniability because she either didn't take a stand or she was soft on each side. So she can always say, well, I didn't do this for this person. I didn't do this for that person. She's always got a little bit of that. But those kind of people end up becoming toothless, feckless. Like there's no value to them because they're trying to please everybody. You end up pleasing nobody. The truancy thing. Let me bring up the truancy thing because we got some of that. because that is real. People keep trying, especially my peoples, for whatever reason, keep trying to tell us that this truancy thing is not real. She wasn't locking anybody up behind the truancy thing. But I'm gonna bring this video in.
Sure that she had the proper documents, the proper paperwork, everything in line to ensure that she had, for number one, the proper education, and for number two, the proper health care. Her health care always oversee the education side, because of course my job as a parent is to keep her alive. I want to see her grow, and I want to see her become the young woman that she needs to be. So being under a doctor's care, they always will tell you what to do that is required to take care of a child that is chronically ill, such as Shayla.
Now, let me say this. As I look over here, if you see my eyes wander, what I'm doing is actually monitoring the chat, bringing powerful comments. Like someone right there says, I remember when I first heard about this, I was pissed off and I don't even have kids. Part of what I wanted to do was bring the Adolph family, which is hundreds of thousands strong across America, and put our arms around you, Miss Peoples, because today is not a celebration or a recognition of you. I feel like the way this is being paraded around is as though Kamala Harris called you personally, and that call did not happen, correct?
No, that call never happened. No apologies never happened. You know, the whole thing that really disturbed me is that she lied. The whole entire time that she started the circuit, when she first announced her presidency last year or so, she lied when she was asked about the truancy. Like, people have to understand 10% of time is not a lie. It's only 3 days.
No, it isn't.
It's
That's
only
not
3 days of the school year. So, and it doesn't matter. My daughter was protected under her 504. She was supposed to be protected under these governing laws, and they still came and took me to jail. Had it as if photographers was there. I mean, it looked as if I killed somebody. And that's how it made me feel, like I was Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, what did I do? Because I had everything in place in which they tell me how to do. And how can they go around and smack me in the back literally 2 weeks after I had meetings with the school? Because technically on record, they had her missing like 40 something days. I had to take them to court regarding those days to have them fix her record. 12 days after I had that meeting is when they submitted my name to the DA. So they knew exactly what they were doing. I wasn't aware of the truancy situation. I knew about the letters. I was calling the principal. I was always active. I was an active parent from day one, showing documents, showing everything that is required when you have a sick child. I knew my daughter was sick. It wasn't no question. She was born with the condition. So when you're being monitored by the state, you're being monitored by the federal government, because I have opiates, I have narcotics in my home. So up under these conditions, this is what I know. And I knew I needed to protect my daughter by having these so-called documents that never literally protected me or her.
And I shared that because they will try to tell you that nobody was locked up behind the truancy thing. I guarantee you they'll say nobody was locked up behind the weed stuff, but then they'll go and they pulled numbers, and of course people were locked up by the weed stuff, but it might have been a low number. And I think that one lady said it was like 40 people that were locked up for low level weed, but still, let me see. Fuck prosecutors who lock up parents with truant kids. And again, it's a sick child that required days off for illness. But I also know how people operate. I know how bureaucrats and red tape, how they do things. I know that if you put a law in place, you're going to want to show numbers to prove that it was a valuable effort. So some people, like they do with speeding tickets, some people will get caught as a quota to let them say, well, this is an effective thing to do. That happens. People pad stats all the time to make something look more effective than it is. So that's the thing. So I wanted to put that in there because people have been impacted by some of those things, low-level truancy, weed. Some of those people did. And she did also have, I guess, successes from some of her programs that tried to mitigate recidivism, to try to keep people out of prison for low-level offenses. Because, again, she plays both sides of the fence. She didn't bring charges in a lot of low-level offenses, but did in some others, like this lady here. So she, again, it's what they say, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. She's all over the place. Did she lock up black men? People will say, no, she didn't lock up black men. She was a prosecutor. How do you not lock up black men unless no black men live there? So did she exclusively lock up black men? Nobody in America has been accused in recent times of exclusively locking up black men. Disparate mostly, or like overrepresenting black men and who you lock up, yes. But nobody said you only lock up black men. If black men exist there, black people have the same propensity towards everybody else to be in violation of the law. So yes, some black men got locked up. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it just makes sense. If you're a prosecutor, you're probably going to lock up men and women. Yeah. So that part doesn't bother me. Did she go after exclusively black men? I don't think so. She is an agent of an oppressive state. Like, that's what the government is. It oppresses people. It puts laws on people. It tells you what you can and can't do. That's oppressive. That's an inhibitor. That's restrictive. What's up, Yella? It exploits the citizens a lot of times for capital, like through ticketing, through taxation. You can't tell me that there's a prosecutor in the country where black people live that doesn't lock up black men disproportionately. You'd be hard pressed for me to believe that. But what I don't like is she would have you believe, because I've listened to her, I've listened to some interviews, and I don't think I clipped this one. But she paints herself like, I don't know if anybody else knows Sam Greenlee, the spook who sat by the door. She paints herself in that light. She paints herself like she's somebody that when you come to the door of justice, I'm on the other side to open it. She puts herself as being the person that's granting access to justice and to activism and championing the rights for reform and restorative justice. But her record, like I said, is very hit and miss. Very hit and miss. She is more likely to take a position when it matters and tell you of all her glorious intentions. I don't need anyone else in my life like that, especially as president. So to me, it would mean she's only going to throw her weight at women's issues, which is very safe for her during her 4 years, because she wants to get she doesn't want to get a lot of political blowback. That's what I expect from her. But what's up, Yellow?
1am.
What's up? She withheld exonerating evidence in a murder trial. Yep, probably to hit numbers. And that's what people do. And I know I'm people. Now, I probably wouldn't want to impact somebody's life super negatively, but there's a long history in this country of people making a claim that allows them to feel good about themselves or to avoid retribution or to avoid accountability. Well, I don't want to tell the truth about what I did, so I'm going to lay the blame on somebody else. I think there's a white woman that said, I think she killed her kids, but said a black man did it. Like, people say all kinds of things to escape their negative feelings or anything on them. That's human. I expect that. But certain positions, I want less of that. I want people to have that. If you exhibit that trait more than other people, I don't want you there. And she's one of those people. She cares about her record more than her oath of office. Absolutely.
Like accountability should be more prevalent the higher up.
Yeah, higher up you going?
The higher up the scale. Yeah. Accountability should be more prevalent. The unfortunate part is that's the opposite of what's happening. It's like the higher up you are, the more people beneath you that can kind of take the blame for it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely where we at. Let me see. I got a short, I think. Let me see. Oh, I can't pause it. Because it's a short.
My bad, y'all. I was trying to get up here. You know, my schedule changed up a little bit today, so
okay.
A couple
appreciate
hours. Yeah. Appreciate you, bro. I do. I want to give you your flowers and shit real quick because I'm okay. Well, I'll give you a dead ass fucking roses that's just wilted away or whatever, nigga. Shit. I'll give you a bag of flour, nigga. And I tell me if I can't use that.
I'll take the bag of flour. I'll do something with that.
All right, well, I'm gonna give you a bag of flour. I know this political shit can get stressful, and I know these you know what I'm saying, conversations can get can get messy, but you handling it well. Like you're fair and balanced. I'm glad that you're doing that you did the Republicans yesterday, and now you're kind of holding Kamala to the same type of task. So, man, shout out to you, man. You ain't shit, but you all right.
I got you. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna turn your name into Kamala. Prosecutors threaten to throw the book at anyone who doesn't plead. They get conviction numbers, and people lose their right to trial by peers. Yes, and I don't like that. The whole plea system. We're having a whole problem with. And here's the thing: like Thomas Sowell, whether you agree with him or not, he talks about there aren't solutions. There are just trade-offs. There aren't solutions. They're just trade-offs. So everything that Democrats or Republicans want to do, it comes at a cost. So the plea deal system. If you have plea deals, then people are going to be incentivized to make people plea or coerce them to plea so that they don't have to bear the cost and the time of trials. It's rational, even if it's unethical. Same thing with like cops and overtime. Cops have available overtime. They're going to drag stuff out. I've heard so many things about cops arresting somebody at the end of their shift so that they got to do another 2 hours of paperwork, of lazy paperwork, but they're getting paid like double. So there's a lot. People, we're manipulative. People are going to do things in their best benefit. Shout out to MD, Lil Sis in the building. Appreciate you, man. So people are going to do what's in their best interest, but you have to find people that have some sort of integrity. You have to have some kind of way to police integrity and ethics. You need people that watchdog or look out for that kind of stuff. And at certain levels of government, it seems like we're getting less and less of that. And I don't want more people in here that are willing to be crooked. I want less of them. And she's one of those people that's willing to bend and flex in ways that don't serve the people. It just serves herself. Again, that's my opinion. I think she, though, is somebody that is operating with the diluted good faith of what Malcolm X would have called the white liberal. I think she's that person that he talked about. I was trying to pull up this clip, but there's no way to pause and rewind these things. But he's talking about the white liberals, but she's not white. I get it. Her mom is,
but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling and you take him for a friend.
Yeah. And that's what I think Kamala is. They come at you smiling. You think they're a friend, all the laughing, joking, coconut trees. That's all cute. But I think at the end of the day, she's one of the people that would take the most advantage because we don't have any critical lens. We're not putting any fire to her. People are trying to protect and prevent her from being criticized and scrutinized the same way we scrutinize everybody. We dog Joe for his son's laptop, his stutter. We dogged Joe for his record, crime bill Joe. We dogged Obama, BOMB, because he was bombing everybody with the drone strikes. We dogged Trump. We dog everybody. Now, Kamala, a lot of people want to protect her from the criticism. Again, I think gender plays a role. I don't know why it didn't happen to Hillary. We dogged Hillary. Super predators. But for some reason, we don't want to dog Kamala. We want a very soft, civil, respectable analysis of her record. And a lot of people don't even want that. And I think that's problematic. But not doing anything for Black people. Oh my God. Do I still have that in here? This is the one that gets me. Not doing anything for Black people specifically. Did I keep that? Hold up. It's still here. It's here somewhere. Ooh, bam. There we go. Let me re-upload that. Because that's what, for me, as a Black person, that's an identity I obviously inhabit. But that's what got me. Now, the question was about reparations. I'm not a big believer in reparations because I don't think the people who are being repaired should be paying the taxes that repairs themselves. I think that's a little weird, but I don't know if you can separate that. And I know it's weird trying to figure, we can't even figure out if she's Black. Yeah, people can't figure out if she's Black. How do we figure out who's Black, who's not? So reparations is not my conversation today. I'm just bringing this clip. She was asked about reparations, and this was her response.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination, segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country, right?
And I just have such a problem with somebody saying they're not going to do something for a part of their constituency, because we've seen them be willing to do things for other parts of their constituency. Like, because when she's asked about other groups of people, and I'm just going to play this clip real quick.
We've got to stop playing politics with these kids. And the reality is that rescinding DACA is just simply wrong. We are talking about a population of 800,000 young people. We have 220,000 in California alone.
800,000 born citizens because their parents crossed the border illegally and were born here. So they're dreamers, or they're born that Kameleon here. What's up, man? Take It Home podcast. What's going on, Brody? So she's willing to say and speak up for the 800,000 people, specifically the DACA children. Something has to be done. 200,000 in California alone.
Senator Harris, last month, more than 130,000 migrants were apprehended at the southern border. Many of them are being detained, including small children, in private detention centers in Florida and throughout our country. Most of the candidates on this stage say the conditions at these facilities are abhorrent. On January 20th, 2021, if you are president, what specifically would you do with the thousands of people who try to reach the United States every day and want a better life through asylum?
Immediately on January 20th of 2021, I will, first of all, we cannot forget our DACA recipients, and so I'm going to start there. I will immediately, by executive action, reinstate DACA status and DACA protection to those young people. I will further extend protection for deferral of deportation for their parents and for veterans, who we have so many who are undocumented and have served our country and fought for our democracy. I will also immediately put in place a meaningful process for reviewing the cases for asylum. I will release children from cages. I will get rid of the private detention centers. And I will ensure that this microphone that the President of the United States holds in her hand is used in a way that is about reflecting the values of our country, and not about locking children up, separating them from their parents. And I have to just say that we have to think about this issue in terms of real people. A mother who pays a coyote
to transport her child through their country of origin, through the entire country of Mexico, facing unknown peril, to come here. Why would that mother do that? I will tell you. Because she has decided for that child to remain where they are is worse. But what does Donald Trump do? He says, go back to where you came from. That is not reflective of our America and our values, and it's got to end.
So she was very clear on what she's willing to do for immigrants, unlawful immigrants. She's very clear on what she's willing to do for them. She's not going to sit here and say what she's willing to do for black people. That's a spit in my face. Like, that's a slap, a spit in my face. That's a problem, because Greg corrected me. For me, because I don't care about DACA, I assumed that DACA was the anchor babies. I thought that was the anchor babies, the babies that were born here that allowed their parents to stay a lot of times. But if that's the DACAs of the children that are born here, they're not even citizens. These aren't even citizens. She's willing to expound and explain and articulate what she wants to do for non-citizens, but she won't do it for Black American citizens. That's even worse. That's even worse. Because I'm not a big immigration person. I really don't care. That they're not my problem. But it's even worse to me that you're willing to articulate exactly on day one what you're willing to do for non-citizens, but you're not willing to articulate what you are willing to do for citizens that happen to be Black American. That's so problematic to me. And I can't overlook that. A lot of people want to overlook it for her skin. A lot of people want to overlook it for her ovaries because she's a woman and she'll protect. Oh, that's cool. That's on y'all. But for me to say that I can't do anything for Black people, but I can do something for all these other groups of people, she's doing stuff for AAPI people, that's so problematic to me. That's dismissive. That's throwing me away legislatively in a way. Like, she's operationally, governmentally erasing me. But then she's willing to say, but you'll benefit from the things I'm doing for other people. I'll do these things for other people that you'll get caught up in. Well, you're probably poor because you're Black. So when I do things for poor people, something, you'll get something. I don't like that. They don't sit well with me. That's insulting. Excuse me. You cannot. So thank you for that correction, Greg. Thank you. Appreciate that. Shout out to Greg.
Yeah, that's
live fact check.
That's what I had got from it, which was crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, of course it would affect Black people because Black people are poor. That's how it sounded. Like, yeah. Of course, Black people get this benefit because as long as we're here helping the poor or the less fortunate or whatever, however the fuck you want to look at it.
Of course.
They're gonna get a piece of it anyway, knowing damn well that ain't the fucking case.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna sit up here and do anything specifically for Black people. What I'll do is just set up laws for people that smoke Black and Milds. You smoke Black and Milds, I'll make sure you got an extra $15 in your paycheck each week. If you smoke Black and Milds, yeah, that's what most people, Black people, smoke Black and Milds. So as long as I do something for people that smoke Black and Milds, then it's directly helping Black people. I don't like getting caught up in some little side thing. So we got DACA Calm over here. DACA Calm. She's very clear on what she wants to do for DACA kids. DACA Calm knows what she wants to do for DACA kids. She don't want to do nothing for me. DACA Calm.
And she Indian too.
Yeah. Hey, poor kids are just as smart as white kids. Listen. A lot of these quotes that they be saying, a lot of stuff that they be saying, but I wanted to show y'all another because I pulled this up. I did this with Rico when we went with the whole the crime. What was it? The anti-Asian hate bill versus the anti-lynching bill. How vague the anti-lynching bill was versus how specific the AAPI bill was. So now this is the Black the fact sheet. Biden here. This is February this year. The advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. There was a lot of stuff in here. Of course, there's a lot. But when we get into the points, they did talk about 2.6 million jobs for Black workers. That was great. Black working families build wealth. Black wealth is up 60% relative to pre-pandemic, largest increase on record. That was great. Cut in half the number of Black children living in poverty. But specifically when we got into businesses, this is where things started getting vague. achieved the fastest creation rate of Black-owned businesses in more than 30 years and more than doubled the share of Black men. Like from what to what? What's the fastest creation rate? What's the rate? I need something. I need a metric. They improved the Small Business Administration's flagship loan guarantee program. They improved. What's the improvement? Like, give me something to quantify that, to qualify it. Expanded availability from to what degree? The number and dollar value has been more than doubled. From what to what? From $2 to $4 to 200,000, 400,000. Like, from what? Like, we need to know. So it got very
from zero to a dollar, right?
That stuff matters, but it got very vague. They did small business credit initiative, invested $10 billion to expand access to capital and invest in early stage businesses in all 50 states. Again, not for Black people. This is they did it in all 50 states. And underserved businesses, everything like underserved businesses. They did stuff in areas. Now they did do something specifically for Black farmers. Republicans were mad about that. I was happy about that because they got shafted. Small and disadvantaged businesses, and that's the Kamala thing. Like, it's mostly going to direct Black people. It's mostly going to impact Black people, but not specifically. So they kept saying small and disadvantaged businesses. There were some other things, but when it came to the businesses, I thought it was so interesting that they went vague. But if we go over to the AAPI one, and we go to the businesses, let me see. Let me get past the hate bill. Let me get past the hate. Boom. Now listen how specific this is. In 2021, first we got a specific year. President Biden set a bold goal to increase total federal contract dollars to small disadvantaged businesses. Now it's the same language, small disadvantaged businesses that they said for Black people. So the same money that they were saying was for Black people, they're also throwing at Asians, but they're able to quantify it. By 15%, they were able to increase the fund contracting to 15% by 2025, but this including Asian American and NHPI. In 2023, federal agencies awarded SDBs a record-breaking $76.2 billion, and again, that's to all the small businesses. This represents the third consecutive year record-breaking awards to SDBs, so that they're being kind of vague there, but they've increased the federal funding of SDBs by 50%. But last year, award to Asian American owned businesses totaled more than $20 billion. So here we got a specific metric, specifically for Asian American owned businesses. They have $20 billion, which was an increase of $2.7 billion over the previous year. So now when you get specific deliverables, when you get to the Asians, the U.S. Business Administration backed 7,500 loans to AAPI-owned businesses. So now they have specific metrics of how many people got loans, which total to more than $6.4 billion. That means total loans are up 44% under the BH administration, and the total loan dollars are up 36%. So they were able to quantify and qualify how many loans and what the total worth of those loans were and how much that was. So now you have metrics and measurables to see how far up this stuff is. So like it's interesting every time I see this. Like I see this stuff and I internalize it. I really don't speak on it too much. But every time the people are talking about what they're doing for Black Americans, it's very vague. When it gets to the Asians, it gets very specific. And it's like it kills me when they do that. Benefits for riders of sea smoke, since that's a Black job. He's stupid. It's all a bunch of rich cunts fighting in that show. They don't need benefits. I'm in love. Yeah, of course you are. No, you hear Asian, you just start creaming on yourself. But that's just something that tripped me out. But Trump also, when he was in president, he had similar little fact sheets to outline the things that they accomplished in their thing. They did also things for Black Americans that they touted, especially like, he'll always claim the HBCUs and Black businesses and the First Step Act that allow people. So everybody has a claim for things that they've done. Everybody has a report that they can say that they did for Black people. But for her to specifically say that, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do anything specifically for Black people. Everything I do for Black people has to be under the cover of doing it for all people. I don't know. For me, that's a non-starter. Like that's a red flag for me. That's an X. Can't do it. I appreciate the fact that they're willing to do things that it might disproportionately benefit us because we're disproportionately poor. But I'd like for somebody to actually recognize, like, hey, you matter because you're you. Like, I recognize you. I recognize these people. I see you. It's like somebody going through the classroom like, hey, Billy, Bobby, Melanie, Sophia, and then they just say you. They won't say your name. Like, say my name. Say that you recognize me. Or even if you're going to say, like she said, black people have all these problems. Black people deal with this, 200 years of this, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say I'm going to do anything specifically for you. For me, that's such a big slap in the face for me. And I might be taking it too seriously, but it bothers me.
No, because you're right. It's very specific language for everybody else. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, if y'all get it, y'all get it. We ain't gonna do nothing specifically for you. And it's the fact that she kind of, I don't know how to put it. Like, she didn't go out of her way because she wasn't necessarily asked the question, but yeah, it's like, at least lie to me. Like, don't hit me with it. If I don't do something for you, nah. Like, at least lie to me.
Yeah, something.
You know what I'm saying? Don't just throw me away from the beginning.
Yeah. I don't like it. Hold up real quick. I got one. Just to clarify, because a lot of people were bothered by the whole Kamala Harris as a DEI hire. And there seems to be a lot of misconception about that. I just want to prove that because people didn't believe me. They said she's not a DI hire. And people keep saying she's not a DI hire. And the problem is people are fighting against the connotation that Republicans are putting up as opposed to what it actually is. It's the Rooney Rule. Like, Mike Tomlin is a DI hire. He's a Rooney Rule hire. But it's a good one. Like, they actually got a good coach. Never had a losing record. Right. So this is real quick, just to set that real quick.
I committed that if I'm elected president, have an opportunity to appoint someone to the courts, I'll appoint the first black woman to the court.
Black woman to the court.
Required that they have representation now. It's long overdue.
Representation.
Secondly,
DI.
if I'm elected president, my cabinet, my administration will look like the country. And I commit that I will in fact I'll pick a woman to be vice president.
Woman vice president.
Women who are
I will pick a woman vice president. He's picking off of gender, race. He's inclusively and representationally selecting somebody based upon race, sex, like those type of things. That's DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's nothing wrong with that. She was qualified for what he was, especially if we're gonna roll out JD Vance. If we're gonna roll out JD Vance, everybody's qualified. Yella's qualified, VP. I'm qualified. My left toe was qualified. If we rolling out JD Vance, everybody's qualified. At this point, we should be taking this extremely serious. She knew details about DACA. She cared less. For real, I can't stand it. She's this is about people. There's a mom that paid coyotes. They pay coyotes. She gave money to coyotes to bring her and her children across the border. She almost went into an accent. Coyotes? She's like, coyotes? Yeah, about us. Yeah. I ain't about to say myself. This was specifically for black people. It was crazy, the contrast, but also the setting was different too. I'll give her room. The setting was different between a one-on-one interview and being on stage. She had to be serious for the debate. She really cared about the poors. She might consider the mass immigration is really bad for them. Yeah, but she doesn't. She doesn't really care. She's got to perform. She's got to please everybody. But going back to we got the DI. Let me see.
We're qualified to be president tomorrow. I would pick a woman to be my vice president.
Mr. Vice President.
Be president tomorrow. I'll pick a woman to be vice president. There are a number of women who are qualified to be president tomorrow.
So he's going to pick a woman. There are a number of women who are qualified to be president. I'm going to pick a woman, but a qualified woman. So really quick, Kamala Harris, Kamala, she absolutely is a DEI hire. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I also wanted to show the people that were contending, for her VP. And I wish I had started because Greg had put it in the chat, or it might have been Nova, or it might have been Dury. It was one of the fellas, one of the boys being boys. Look at who her contenders were. There's no diversity, equity, and inclusion here unless you're talking about Pete Buttigieg being gay and the one woman. But her VP contender list was very, 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 very. There was not a lot of color here. There was not a lot of representation. So that was a choice. That was something very specific that they decided to do. And that's when I was talking about the Dory earlier, that there's Yellowstone, the DAI. So she had to make a DAI hire. She's a DEI hire, and they have to balance it with a DAI hire, which is the default American identity, the WASP. She had to pick a WASP. There was no choice about it. The same way Biden had to balance it out for representation, she had to balance it out with representation. And everybody wants to act like the white male is not an identity politic, but it is. Everybody knew she was going to have to pick a white man. Why do we all know that? Because of identity politics. That's crazy. We want to pretend like the identity politics doesn't play across both sides. Republicans want to act like only black people or gay people or women play DEI, but they do too. They play the DAI. The default American identity is a white man. And then some of the white people will say, well, Jewish people aren't white. But guess what? It's not how everybody sees it.
Man, if she was finna look, if she hired that motherfucker JB Pritzker, we was over.
JB Pritzker. That's the woman?
No, the motherfucking governor for Illinois.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't even know the name.
However you
got my screen shrunk. I couldn't see it. Let me see. Oh, that dude, is he bad?
Man, that nigga's the governor of Illinois. You gonna find me a good one. I think he's the governor of Illinois. They ain't never been a good one.
Okay.
They all been bad, nigga. The last 5, I think, before him, all got convicted, went to jail.
I was about to say, y'all have a lot of corruption. Y'all, Chicago's known for, like, not Chicago, Illinois is known for corruption. Typically through Chicago, but.
Yeah, the whole state. Yeah, the whole state, though. Like, because our governor is the worst. Our governor, the worst of all. Chicago is what it is, but that's like big city type deal. Most big cities kind of shit Dalton, but then you gotta look at Dalton. Dalton ain't no big city.
She on the run.
And Tiffany and Tahoe Tiff out here wilding.
She out here wilding. Yeah.
So it's like the man in Chicago. They all bad. Yeah. Chicago's 2 exporters, corruption and disruption. Hell yeah.
Man, that's crazy. All right, so we're gonna get into her remarks and responses because she does have a way. You know, Donald is calling her dumb and incompetent now. He's calling her stupid, which I've seen her in some Senate hearings. She sounded competent at that time, but I've heard a lot of her stuff when she's in the press. She don't sound too swift. So I just want to play this. This is the Donald presenting something.
Grossly incompetent, and in my opinion, has a very low IQ. But we'll find out about her IQ during the debate. Okay, let's find out about her IQ. So, we have this great system. I want to show you just one other thing, please. Do you mind putting it up, please? Thank you.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right? The Caribbean nations, island nations, in the Western Hemisphere. That is where the Caribbean is. We are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors. I am here standing
here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know? Space is exciting.
Somebody put that in the chat
for
earlier. I
us
saw
to
that.
do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down. We will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work. Do you ban plastic straws? I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when you have, if you're just like, if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend. And then, you know, the little thing catches it. And then, you know, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more. Do you know, okay, a bit of a history lesson. Do you know that women were not, the women's teams were not allowed to have brackets until 2022? So the United States shares a very important relationship.
The fact that they didn't make women's college basketball bracket, she thought it was like prohibited in some capacity. She's what? Nobody really cared to bet on them like that to make brackets, but they were in brackets. They were seated in brackets. They just didn't gamble.
Yeah, I'm finna say, yeah, it was just
the brackets was there.
Yeah, they had a tournament forever. They've been having a tournament
forever.
What the hell is she talking about?
Because she's crazy. She's crazy.
Yeah,
she's crazy.
Relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. As a woman, there's a balance to be
It's 2 letters.
struck between being tough and being a turn that off.
Hey, she's not wrong.
No, she's right about that.
That was the most right thing she said out of that. That last part made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's the line. When I talked about her facade earlier and her personality, I'm wondering if that's why she does that, is to not come across like a bitch. Like I wonder if I wonder if that's in her mind, because I know a lot of women have to play politics differently. I don't mean like literal politics, but I mean, interpersonal dynamics in business settings. Women can't do the same things men do without getting looked at differently and scrutinized more harshly. So I wonder if some of her performative and laughing and goofy silliness is trying to dumb herself down because that's what's expected, or if is that really her, which
I tell you this though.
Outside the U.S. True.
She lucky she hot. Kamala's might hear me out right now.
hey.
I'm just saying, that's the only thing. That's only we would finally have an attractive president.
Definitely be an improvement. I got a couple more little sections on her, man. Let me see if my stuff will load up. Come on now.
The MD say she ain't full of shit. Yeah, you know she be on bullshit. She be on good bullshit. She be at home with her rich white husband talking about all us, everybody, talking about the black folks, the Asians. She be roasting Joe old ass. She be going in on everybody at home.
Man. But yeah, so we went through her running. Her running mate had to be a DAI hire. Her remarks and responses, they're a little goofy a lot of time. A lot of goofy responses, a lot of silly responses. They're talking about her now. If she doesn't have a teleprompter, she may not be able to speak. I don't know. I got to see her perform. I can't wait to see the debates. Like that DACA thing, I think she does a lot of preparation. I think because she's like mentally acute, like she's not she can study. If she may not be like quick-witted, but I know she can retain stuff. She was a prosecutor, AG, senator. She can retain. I've seen her enough time. She's got some skill on some level. So she's got something. Maybe it's retention. So she might be able to like retain a lot of scripting, a lot of like talking points. She might be able to retain that. So she's going to be good at talking in some capacity. But I've heard too much of her sounding stupid. I'm surprised Trump just doesn't play the Gabbard debate on a loop. Yeah. Yep. Tulsi just destroyed her. I can't hang out with her. Can't vote for her, but hey, listen. But this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. When I was talking about from Dick Gregory on to now, a lot of celebrities are getting pushed in front of black people. And I'm not sure why they keep trying to like Charlemagne the God, Cardi B. I think Sexy Red is going for Trump. Like I don't care about Amber Rose went to the. I don't understand the whole celebrity fixation as far as who they're politics. They have different lives, different economic realities. They can't influence what I'm thinking about for a vote. And I really hope that the regular person, they're not influenced by them, but I'm worried because they keep doing it. So it must be effective or something. But this is Malcolm X back in the 60s.
I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne,
Killer
this
Mike,
included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
So when he was talking about that, I was like, yeah, it's weird that they're still doing that. That trips me out. But give me a second.
I mean, to be fair,
hit me.
White folks do that shit too.
They put the celebrities out there, but I don't think that they. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying we the only ones looking, but they not leaders though. They don't view them as leaders. We the only ones expect our black celebrities to somehow be leaders and all that other shit. No, nigga, they celebrities. You gotta understand that they celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
So their job is to entertain. Like motherfuckers be having people perform at Trump rallies. They have people perform at Trump rallies.
Perform. Yeah. You go perform.
I mean, that's an endorsement. Yeah, that's an endorsement though.
Oh yeah. Oh, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like here's where I say, like endorsements, that's fine. Performances, that's fine. Having to say, that's fine. I'm saying as people, I feel like black people take the celebrities too seriously. I don't think white people are voting for Trump because of Hulk Hogan. Up there's brother. I don't think that they really care. It's like pep for them. I think that's more pep rally. You know what I'm saying? I think that's more pep rally for them. But I feel like people really listen to people like Charlemagne the God. They really take Killer Mike seriously. They really listen to what T.I. be saying. And when Cardi B was up there with Joe Biden, they really paid attention. Like I feel I could be off, but I feel like with black people, we take the celebrities seriously and care about what they think about. And I could be off. And Kai Cenat, yeah, that was funny. Somebody said he was trolling. I think CTV came and said he was trolling. He was trolling the Harris's campaign. I was like, man, that's hilarious. But I don't know. I don't follow Kai Cenat like that to know it's like a Secret Service called me 5 times. I was cracking up. Trump was the Aiden something. Aiden Ross. Was that it? Trump was on the stream. Yep. He just did an interview with Elon. They've been talking about it all day. But I think for black people, I think this has a lot to do. This guy was talking about they were, of course, race and politics, but what he said, I think, is apropos why we keep leaning into celebrities.
saying. And I think what ends up happening is that we layer our own prejudices on the words of others, particularly when we disagree with them politically. And so I would say, yes, we can talk about the fact that right there in Baltimore, we've got 23 different schools that not a single Black child is proficient in math or reading. We can talk about the fact that all across this country, in Syracuse, New York, the epicenter for child poverty per capita in this country. So yes, we have real racial inequality in this country. I think, again, we're really dealing with party orthodoxy, where in the confines of a political election, we get comfort food from the masses, from both political parties that don't want to have a true reckoning with how their own policies and their own rhetoric prevents us from having the real conversation.
Mayor Bottoms,
I think it's political comfort food. Because like you said, there's whole cities where Black kids are not proficient in math and reading. And we have somebody running for the highest office saying, I'm not going to do anything for Black people specifically. How could you leave your citizens in a lurch like that? How could you leave them in such a state? Some disparities they're never going to be okay to exist in a place that you're governing. And again, Biden's the president right now, and that still persists. So that's why I take my politics with a grain of salt. But it's like there's certain problems, and I think the celebrity endorsement, the celebrity appeal for us is comfort food. It makes us feel good while we look at our circumstances, and like our kids are still not able to read, our kids are still not able to write, our kids still don't have mathematics, basic arithmetic. Not trying to be funny, our adults don't either. So we can't help them. So we're dependent on the school system because a lot of us. I think Crimson Cure was just showing a video of this lady, and I guess she's somewhat famous. She was like one of the Real Housewives. She was like, I can't read and write, and I was like, you up here, I guess, signing contracts, and you can't read and write? I'm like, Jesus Christ. But it's bad, man. But yeah, dang, I ain't even been giving my little titles. Go ahead.
But especially when we got those said Black celebrities trying to tell us that 1 × 1 = 2.
You got Terrence. Man.
So what not even the high level Negroes are being used.
Nah.
So
we have kids in schools like that and then wonder why we can't find any Black doctors. Like, man, school doesn't start. It doesn't. You're right. Absolutely right. That's just a spectacle. Hulk Hogan is funny. Nobody's going to vote because Hulk Hogan told them so. And I'm so concerned that people are. It doesn't keep me up at night. It doesn't stress me out. But every now and then, when I hear Charlamagne the God talking, and I see them interviewing him for politics, and I'm like, why? Like, this dude talked about sexually assaulting somebody, and you want to listen. I don't even understand. When we know certain things about people, I don't understand why we don't leave them alone. Because they're like unapologetic about some of the things that if you're unapologetic about some of the harm that you've caused in the community, I don't understand how we still support these people. But God, anyway, my biggest issue with conservatives mostly is what I perceive as them shifting their values or being deceptive about their values. They will say one thing is important, but there's typically a hidden caveat. For a lot of them, like, Greg was trying to tell me, like, there's a difference between the libertarians and the other groups within the Republican Party. There's certain groups in there that use race or class or gender or sexuality or religion as the hidden caveat. They don't tell you, but if you're this thing, it doesn't matter. Kind of like what Ann Coulter said out front. Oh, yeah, you're great. You're saying all the right things, but you're an Indian. I'll never vote for you. Typically, that goes unspoken. But Democrats lately have been trying to build, they always go about the Rainbow Coalition. And that's cool. But you can't keep using identity to segregate and then also get mad when other people use identity to segregate you. So when people are trying to say, like, you're not Black, you're not this, you can't say that's out of bounds when you're also trying to group people by these identities as well. If race and sex is something we are trying to move away from and equity on, we're going to have to show people how a group of people can operate while intersecting. And we're going to have to be the change we want to see. We have to self-determine a code of conduct and values independent of what anyone else is doing. We can't say, well, Trump did this, like D.L. Hughley. We can't go down that path. Well, Trump did this, and if you ain't give that heat to Trump, We have to determine what issues are a non-starter that we're never moving on, what is set for now, but we can revisit later, and what we have as negotiables, things that we're willing to like, okay, we'll compromise here and there. We have to determine that for ourselves up front. There's too much political stuff to cover. Like I did with Trump and JD, and I did Kamala today. There's just too much. They're putting out too much content, and I believe that's with intention. I believe the press is just flooding people and our timelines. We're just being flooded with too much stuff to sort through to find out what's real, what's a rumor, and what's just being reported, what's factual and what's being reported. It's too much. It's too much for the normal person to sort. It's too much for me. And I don't think most people will sort through as much data as I will. They won't put the time. They don't have the time, and they don't have the inclination. So I'm concerned about the value of the vote. I'm concerned about the value of what people are perceiving that they're choosing from. And I'm even more concerned when I hear them say a non-vote, not voting for Kamala is a vote for Trump, de facto. That concerns me. Like the thought process that people are bringing to this, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. But it's too much for people, and I get it. It means we're more susceptible to bad information because who has the time to fact check everything I said today, let alone what's being said 24/7 on the endless stations, the apps, the websites, the newspapers, the podcasts. And eventually, I think as people who lean left, we have to stop voting against a person before ourselves. It's weird behavior to only vote to stop someone else and not advance yourself. And if you're not going to do anything for Black people, you're probably not looking out for me. Voting for her simply to stop him, Trump, is one of those non-starters for me. I can't do that. I understand it as a tactic, but that only applies when I see one as neutral and the other as a threat. Dems have become just as bad, and they become everything that they hate about Trumpers. They're crass, they're cruel, they're oppositional, they're opportunistic, they're corrupt, and they're morally bankrupt. I don't want to participate in that brand of politics. I can't in good conscience vote for either candidate. What I can do is believe that the Democratic ticket's goals are closer to what I would support, but I'm not uninformed enough to recognize that Congress and Supreme Court aren't in our favor. So anything they want is going to get thwarted, is going to get filibustered. This will be a largely lame duck presidency in the first place. And as I recently heard a term, the glass cliff. So instead of the glass ceiling that keeps minorities or people from advancement, the glass cliff is the phenomenon of somebody being brought in to steer a ship as it heads off of a cliff. So she's inheriting a no-win situation. That's what people are saying already. They're already prepping her for failure. They're already saying she's only getting this job because she's a woman, if she gets it. Ultimately, though, I want to play this clip. Hopefully, I have it still here. Hopefully, I didn't delete it. But this is what I want people to do. I want people to seriously do this right here. Like literally, people that are listening. I want y'all to do this. If you haven't done it in your life, I want you to do this.
Wrestling with him. That's the way the founding fathers intended this thing. Democracy is messy. It just is. And we don't have good models for messiness and tension. I'm glad you're asking these things. Here's the third thing, and I want to challenge everybody listening to do this. Take one calendar week, Sunday to Sunday, and do not go to a website that involves news. Don't watch a news channel. Don't, like, if you have a bunch of Twitter feeds and Instagram feeds, cut them off for 7 days. And then on the second Sunday, day 7, I want you to write out, here's what I believe. Not about people. I believe you should treat each other with dignity and respect. I believe you should tell the truth. I believe that you go to war for these reasons. I believe that here is how a group of people should collectively handle their money. Here's how I believe we should take care of or support the least of these in our communities, those on the margins. Go through and write that stuff out. And you said it when you called, Marley. I think 99% of people would, not 99, probably 95, would look at their list and they would find themselves a hodgepodge of the various narratives that we're getting these days. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, definitely.
I challenge everybody listening to do that. And then at the end of the day, Do your research on all the candidates. Do your research on the third party and fourth party candidates, because sometimes you vote so that because you think this would be the best person given this group we have, and I've got to look myself in the mirror. And I think we've lost that. I think we just want to be on the winning team. So Marley, I'm not going to give you the answer of who to vote for. I am going to tell you you're wrestling with it is right. You're wrestling with it is hard. And hopefully that three-legged stool I gave you, that's how I do it. That's how I've always done it. And I like to revisit. Here's what
And that's what I want people to do. And if you do something like that, if that's how you already operate, I'll have no problems with whatever decision you make. But I really hope that Kamala Harris, should she win the presidency, she fulfills something useful in her 4 years. But that's where I stand on it. But where do you stand? Where are you, Yellow? Where are you at in this process? Has anybody gotten you away from the couch? Anybody got you ready to go press that button? Pull that lever? And in the chat, what about y'all?
Hell no.
Neocons are big on
I'm on the couch.
Yeah.
I'm on the couch.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay, so that's me. I mean, so for me, it's going like Randy Red Boots, Randy Johnson. Was it Johnson? Randy? It wasn't Randy Johnson. What was that dude? I mean, he used to wear red boots on American Idol. Randy, whatever. It's gonna be a no for me, though. Randy Jackson, thank you. It's gonna be a no for me, dog. I can't vote for Trump and JD, and I really can't see myself voting for Kamala. I like Tim Walz from what I've heard of him, but I haven't looked into him. He seems to be the closest to my values based on what he says, but again, I haven't investigated enough to really know. I know everybody doesn't have the time or the inclination, the care to actually go and do the research, but I do think you can look into yourself and decide what your values are. I think that's simple. That's easier to investigate yourself and what are my values and who sounds like they align with my values. What do I really care about? And it may just be a single issue. It may just be abortion. It may just be economics. It may just be immigration. It may be. And I was being hyperbolic and I was being ignorant yesterday. And I said everybody that votes for Trump is idiotic, racist, or I can't even remember what it. That's how unserious I was about it, Greg. So idiotic, racist, or something. I can't remember. But I was being hyperbolic. So today for Kamala, anybody that votes for Kamala Harris is also idiotic. A maniac. Thank you, Mark. Idiotic, maniac, or racist. For Kamala Harris, have to be idiotic. Because you have to be stupid to vote for somebody stupid. That's one. I want to say feminist, but I don't know we don't have a good word for people that hate white men. We need a word for people that hate white men. But misandrist, that might be one. And you don't have to be a maniac, but you probably have to be a loser. How about a misandrist, an idiot, or just a loser? Because losers like lefties. Losers like lefties. Yeah, well, same thing. I was saying losers, but minorities, that works too. Losers like lefties. Yeah, minorities, same difference. So yeah. So I'll be hyperbolic on the other side to be fair. Is that reasonable? Idiots, losers, and shoot, I don't even remember what I said. But no, I'm serious. Like if here's what I really feel, my genuine feeling. If you are gung-ho, you 100% believe in the person that Trump or Harris is, I think there's something wrong with you. If you believe in their platform or their policies, cool. If you believe in their party, cool. But if you look at these two people, listen to the things that they say, watch the things that they do, and you believe in that person as a leader, I mean, you're probably in the wrong place. Like, this ain't the channel for you. Like, I don't even want you here because there's something wrong with you. Like, if you really look at these people and you're like, man, I'm not believing this person. Jesus and then this person, oh my God. something wrong with you. And I've seen people like that. That's the unfortunate part. Again, if you're for party, vote blue, no matter who, vote red until you're dead. If you're one of those people, cool. But I'm talking, if you look at Trump and believe in him as a leader, or you look at Kamala Harris and believe in her as a leader, oh my God, it's really hard for me to take y'all serious. Oh, minorities are the people that hate white men. Oh, okay. Okay. That works. Got you. All right, but yeah, that's it for me, man. Yellow, you got any last words on this one, man? Dear God, anyone else?
I know you said vote blue until what? What's it called?
No, I know they say vote blue no matter who. Then I made up vote red until you're dead. I don't know if they say that. I've never heard that before, but you know, vote blue no matter who.
Okay.
Vote.
So you got vote blue no matter who. You got vote red till you're dead. And then you got vote yellow because he that fella, man. Vote yellow 2028. Y'all see me. Well, y'all don't see me, but y'all will. Let's go. Y'all have a good night, man.
That was terrible. So yellow 2028. Who's your? Did you say who? Neil deGrasse Tyson. You said Neil deGrasse Tyson was your running mate.
Yeah.
he walked away. All right, y'all. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Listen.
Yeah, my bad.
You good. All right, do your thing. Hey, real quick, programming note. I'm waiting on Rico, but Greg has a stream that he wants to do with Rico. We'll be getting that in sometime by Monday at the latest. There's one that Rico wants to do. So Bree and Yell, I got to get y'all at some point. Rico wants to do, and I'll coordinate that, but I got to hear back from him. And then I'm doing one with Nova before the 26th. So those are the next 3 streams. I had some other ones. I don't know if I want to rant. I feel a rant coming because eventually I want to. Man, appreciate you, Mar. Appreciate you coming through and hanging out. I really want to get Brother Clarence on here to go through that whole. But I again, like I said, I want to be respectful. I like Bro C, but that position bothers me so much. So I want to balance out. I like Bro C, but I hate what he said so much. That's like, I don't know. I got to make sure I can have the conversation like respectably. But man, I really can't stand that. If you don't vote for Kamala, it's automatic vote for Trump because the math don't math, the logic don't logic, the reason don't reason. It doesn't make any sense. And the people are regurgitating that. It bothers me, but he seems to really believe in it. I want to have that conversation. I gotta hear that fleshed out. But I don't trust. I think it would be like talking to Trump or Kamala. I don't think I would ever. I don't think you can make sense out of nonsense. So I hesitate. But I want to hear it articulated. But I'm not sure I can trust that I would respond respect because I'm going to say it's stupid. I know that, and I know that could be offensive. That could be triggering. So I'm going to say it's stupid. When I hear it, I'm going to say it's stupid because it is stupid, and I don't know why people keep saying it. Then the lady, I swear, this lady online, this lady on IG, Instagram, was arguing the very same thing, and she told me that it's that way because of the Electoral College. And I'm like, that makes it an even dumber argument because that means my one vote is pulled in with a lot of other votes, and whoever has a majority within that pot wins. So if I don't vote for one person, it doesn't automatically go to the one person, but even if it did automatically go to that person, that whole area, that district would have to be overwhelmingly for that person. So it negates it even more, but people are irrational. People are irrational about this thing. They get very emotional about it. And it's really interesting because they don't get as emotional about the local elections, which are far more important, which touch you far more often. But anyway, we're going to head out of here. Appreciate y'all. I'll just anybody, just in case anybody didn't see it yesterday, I'll show y'all Kamala Harris becoming black on the way out.
On the last episode of Dragon Ball Z, it was a rough and tumble day for certain. It's an instant Saiyan punching bag. Now, that's gotta hurt.
Child care, elder care,
making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Pop goes the weasel. I won't let you get away with this! I won't let you!
What are you? I am the hope of the universe. I am the answer to all living things that cry out for peace. Man, this shit sounds soft as hell. What the f*** I look like reading some bitch-ass shit? I got a Dragon Ball chain, nigga. What the f***? So much time is embezzled in that bitch. It's worth more than your whole shit with your ugly ass. What? Did I stutter, hoe ass nigga? I am the light in the darkness, cause my chain be glistening. Get a good look, bitch, spare me. Niggas think I'm fighting to save the day, but really, nigga, I just like to fight. What? I don't care about none of that shit. Please, just let me go. Hell out of good. Nightmare to them ops, ho.
Can Kombucha, Zendaya, Kamala become the next president of the United States and the first woman president? Can Donald Trump, the 34-time felon, recover in time to regain his once-held presidency? Find out all this and more on the very next episode of the U.S. Presidency.